Hello, farmers. It's me, Raschelle. I'm alive. Sorry I've been a bit absent as of late. I've had some life going on. Primarily that I am an essential worker in this, our age of COVID-19. I promise I'll be coming back soon. In the meantime, I'm here today to give you a very important message. I would like you to know that the official stance of this podcast is that Black Lives Matter. To our Black listeners, I love you and I'm sorry. You deserve 1,000,000 times more than the world gives you. You are beautiful and amazing and your lives matter. To all of our other listeners, especially our white ones, it is our responsibility to make the world into one that our Black siblings deserve. I know it's getting to be the end of June, and a lot of the protests and all the people talking about this are getting kind of tired of it, but the thing is, we cannot stop. Anti-racism is less like getting a shot and being done with it, and more like brushing your teeth. It takes a little bit of work every single day to maintain a healthy habit, and anti-racism is definitely a healthy habit. So we need to continue to work on this, and work on it daily. Dedicate literally 5 or 10 minutes a day if that's all you can handle right now. Every day for the rest of your life. This will never be something we can solve and move on from. We will have to maintain it constantly, so we need to work on slowly building up our tolerance and strength for dealing with this issue, just like you would build armor like muscle through exercise. It seems tough now, but it will become easier as we work with it, and as our anti-racism muscles, so to speak, get stronger. And hopefully it will eventually just become second nature. If you have the money to donate to the cause, try donating regularly every month, as opposed to one big donation now that you do and forget about. Funds for this work are literally always needed, not just the month after the latest horrifying event. So if you can contribute regularly, contribute regularly. If you don't have money to donate, and also if you do, the most important and easiest thing you can do is to educate yourself and the others around you. Call out racism when you see it. Say something when a friend or family member makes a racist comment. Say something when your favorite game devs don't include Black stories. Say something when your favorite podcasts or shows or anything you consume at all have racist takes, and when they don't address the issue. It may be uncomfortable, but discomfort is the consequence of racism. Make racism uncomfortable for those around you. Very often racism has no consequence on white people. Make it a point to make discomfort that consequence. It's not enough, but it's a very good start. Other than that, there's 1,000,000 free and low-cost things to do, mostly in the realm of educating yourself. Podcasts, reading, art, online forums, etc. We have been denied decades and decades of education on the Black world experience, and that is unfair, but it is also not on the Black people around us to make up for that. It is our responsibility to find it and learn it ourselves. Do some internet searches. Ooh, get a library card. I love my library card. Truly the best thing I've ever gotten in my life. Free books, free music, free movies. It's fantastic. There are 1,000, 1,000,000 lists online that have been popping up that have 1,000,000 suggestions for things you can watch and books you can read. And of course, they all usually start with the basics. Read stuff like Me and White Supremacy, or write White Fragility, or How to Be Antiracist. And those are all very important and very good first steps. But don't forget to broaden that education further with things that address issues outside of yourself and your personal interaction. Also read things like One Person, No Vote, The New Jim Crow, or Fearing the Black Body, which talk about the systems that have been built up that are enforcing the racism of our society. And also read some fiction. I recently read a fantastic book called Let's Talk About Love. And not just books, but movies and shows and podcasts and news and games and comic and music and art. Make a point to consume these things, not because you're going to have some amazing revelation about race relations when you read the latest, most popular Black fiction novel, but because they're good stories, they're good takes, they're good art. These stories and pieces of art are equally as important as all of the ones about white people that we already consume on a daily basis. We need to make a point of opening our consuming habits to the entirety of the human experience and not just our own. The system that is white supremacy relies heavily upon the complacency and ignorance of white people. It thrives on our silence and on our turning a blind eye to the familiar humanity of other people. Fight it. Fight these mechanisms. Fight the system. This system can only stay in place if we choose to keep it or we choose to turn a blind eye to it. So don't. But Raschelle, what about Pride Month? It's June. Shouldn't we be celebrating Pride? You're right, hypothetical obnoxious person based on a series of recent encounters I've had. We have to make sure that our education and actions are rooted in intersectionality. We cannot fight racism if we continue to uphold the racist belief that Black people are the one-dimensional caricatures that white supremacy wants us to see. Black GRSM lives matter. Black trans lives matter. When we celebrate and fight for our community, we need to make sure that we are centering the most marginalized among us. And those are the people who are hit doubly hard by both queerness and race. And we especially need to fight for those who our group traditionally likes to pretend aren't here, the trans and non-binary folks, the asexual spectrum folks, all the letters that come after the L and the G, because the most privileged of our community for some reason don't seem to see them as equally as valid and important and worthy of the same fundamental human rights as the rest of us. None of us are free until all of us are free, and that includes our Black siblings too. In literally everything you do and everything you care about, always remember, Black lives matter. Black trans lives matter. Black fat lives matter. Black neurodivergent lives matter. Black disabled lives matter. All Black lives matter. As for this podcast in particular, we definitely have some work to do. Of course we do. We're two white people. Going forward, we are going to make a point to include more Black stories in our podcast, more Black voices, more Black developers, more Black games, more everything. We are going to do our best to broaden the horizons of our knowledge and our understanding of the world, and hopefully give a little bit of that back to our listeners as well. If you have any suggestions or anything you want us to talk about, please send it in to us. If we ever do or say anything, be it explicit or not, that is racist, call us out. Especially white people. It is not Black people's job. White people, call us out. We are going to do our best to make this podcast an open and welcoming space that can also be a home for our Black listeners as much as our white ones. I know this has been kind of a long rant, but there's not really a short way to encompass all of the feelings I have about this matter. You don't need yet another list of educational tools, but I'll put together a very quick one of some book suggestions and some podcast suggestions and things like that we can put in our show notes for our listeners if any of the other lists for some reason are not a good starting place for you. Or just to broaden things that might not be on those other lists. Thank you for your time. I have to go to work now. Have a good day and have a good harvest, farmers.
Hello and welcome to the harvest season. My name is Al, and it's just me again this week. However, we hopefully will have some other people for you soon, hopefully next episode, but I'm not going to guarantee that just yet because you never know how these things go. Anyway, welcome to the harvest season. My name is Al, and we're here to talk about farming games. So first of all, I'm going to talk about what I've been playing. I've got quite a lot of news this week, and then I thought I'd give just a brief overview of how I'm finding the game Summer in Mara, which released a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, we'll go for that. So obviously, first of all, I've been playing some Summer in Mara. That's kind of the main farming game I've been playing recently. Looking forward to some other ones coming out soon, but that's what I've been doing just now. I've also been playing some Pokemon because obviously the DLC came out recently, so I've been playing that, and also I have been playing some Burnout Paradise because the remaster came out on Switch recently, and I've been enjoying that. So quite a few games I've been playing over the last couple of weeks. So in terms of news, obviously the big one is that Summer in Mara is now out on PC and Switch. We'll have the links in the show notes to it on Steam and on the Switch store. So if you have been looking forward to that game, go get it now. If you were a Kickstarter backer, you should have your code to redeem. That's great. And that's all there is to talk about that just now. I'm going to give my first impressions later in the episode. So the next thing is that we got a little bit more information about the Ooblets early access. So that is coming this summer. So I guess that could be any time from now for the next 3 months or so. And just to clarify, that will be coming on Epic Game Store, and that will be in early access. I'll bring you more news as it comes on that one. The next one is also a little small piece of information, and that's just that Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town is going to be coming to Steam. So if you want to play the game but you don't want it on Switch and you want to play it on PC, there you go. You've got an option for you there. Next, we got a bit more information about the Snacko Kickstarter, and that is that they have hit their target, which is really exciting. So if you have backed that, that's definitely going to go through. If you haven't backed it, you have, no time, because, this episode will be coming out after it's closed. Obviously, this episode was meant to come out a day earlier, so I would have given you a bit more advance notice if you just listened to the podcast, but there we are. I have told you about it previously, and I've tweeted about it loads, so if you were aware of it, and you didn't do anything about it, then I'm sorry. There's nothing more I can do for you there. Next, we've got an update from Forager. So they have given us some more information. So first of all, the updates will be coming to the consoles very soon. So that's all of the updates that they've done on the PC version so far will all be coming at one time to all the consoles. They have finished porting them now, and they're just waiting to go through the processes that all the games stores need to do. So that'll take probably just a few weeks, I'd expect, but we don't have an exact date for them yet. The other stuff they're telling us is that the multiplayer mode for Forager will be coming sometime. We don't have any more, just that is what they're working on just now. As we have known from previous games, multiplayer updates generally take a while, so I wouldn't expect that anytime soon. But there we go, that's exciting. If you want to play some multiplayer Forager, that's coming. And the new piece of information is that they are planning on making a mobile version with all the updates. So presumably that's for both Android and iOS, but they didn't say that. So I guess we'll find out sometime. And it's also coming to Xbox Game Pass, if that's something that you want. The next thing is that there's a Village Monsters update coming out, which should be out by the time this podcast airs. It's coming out on the 25th of June. This has a big update in that it has story cutscenes. So that's a big update. And included in that is obviously villager heart events. So that's something that's been missing so far. If you like that sort of thing, then they are coming. They've also got a bunch of side stories for the NPCs, lots of graphical improvements, bug fixes, and something called player abilities, which looks like some sort of ability or skills tree, or not necessarily a tree, but something you can unlock as you go. But I've still not managed to find any time to play Village Monsters yet. Eventually I will. I'll get through all the games eventually. There are just so many of them. So the final piece of news is that the newest Littlewood update is out now. That's 0.96. It's a very exciting update because it includes the final 3 townsfolk, and they are called Dark, Arpeggio, and Toby. And they have all the dialogue and romance all built in, which is good. The other exciting thing is that the Grand Library has been added into the game as well. There are 27 books that can be found and restored to the Grand Library, and they all have lore that you can read. And these books will come from 27 travellers who will occasionally visit your village and give you the books. There's a bunch of other stuff as well, some more furniture items, a couple of some more special moments, stuff like that. So loads of big updates. It's all very exciting. And they have said that they are currently still on track to release 1.0 by the end of July, which is very exciting because it's nearly the end of June. So we are but a month away from the 1.0 version of Littlewood. So I think that's all of the news for just now. So obviously this won't be as big an episode as normal when there's someone that I can, actually talk to about these things. But I thought what I would do is give you a little bit of information on how I'm finding summer in Mara so far, because I know a lot of people haven't played it yet and want to know what it's like. So, I mean, first of all, you'll all know this. It looks gorgeous, right? The screenshots all look great, but when you're actually playing the game, it is just, if not more, beautiful. It is such a good looking game. It's really impressive. It's also a fun looking game. It's not, beautiful in this sort of weird, almost too realistic sort of way. It is just a really nice, really fun looking game. I love the cartoony styles, the bright colours. This is all really, really good. It's real cute. All the characters are really fun to talk to. They're enjoyable. Their backstories are great. I'm really loving all the lore around it and all the story that goes with it. It's a lot more story driven as a game than a lot of farming games. So, something like Stardew or Trio of Towns, there's not a huge amount of story. Obviously, there's story behind each character in the game, but there's not a huge amount of an ongoing story. Whereas in Summer in Mara, there is a story and you are working through this story. And there is a technical end point to the game, but I think you can keep going once you get to that point, just keep on farming and stuff like that. So if you like a story game as well as a farming game, it's a really good one to go with. It's really fun to play. You have a lot of freedom in this game. There's a lot of, you can jump and you can jump over hills and stuff like that. I've not really found any hidden walls, which is good because I really hate that. And they give you a lot of freedom in the game. But it's real fun to play. There are a few issues I've found with it because, nothing's perfect. There's some annoyances with the controls where, sometimes it kind of flips between what you should be expected to do with, the analog stick and the D-pad, and that's a bit annoying to me. And as far as I can tell, there's no way to kind of remap controls, which is obviously not great, but I might be missing that. I'll double check that for next time when we do for the episode when we do a more in-depth thing on Summer in Mara, which we will be definitely doing. But yeah, there are some annoyances with the controls. It's not perfect, but you kind of get used to them and you'll eventually get over that. They're not too annoying that I don't want to play the game, which is kind of the key point. One of the problems I had with my time at Portia was just how the controls were just annoying enough. The load times were just annoying enough. And the key point was the port was not great over to the Switch. It had loads of issues. That is not an issue with this game. There obviously are a few console-specific bugs, which they currently have an update pending that will hopefully be going through soon. But there's nothing really, really big. There's no huge load screens that I've noticed. You don't really go into your house. You don't kind of go in and do stuff in your house. So that probably helps. And the kind of first area is all loaded in memory. In the future, there are other bits that have to load, but I've not noticed them being ridiculously long and really annoying. And certainly the first time load is nowhere near as annoying as it could be in some games. So in general, a pretty good console port, I would have to say that. So honestly, great fun game. This is really not a huge amount of information I'm giving you just now, but I just wanted to give a little flavour of what Summer in Mara is like. If you've been thinking about getting it and you're just like, I just want to hear some opinions on it, I'd highly recommend it. It's a good game. It's really fun. I am not regretting having backed this as a Kickstarter. It's a good game. So that's about it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. Next episode we should have, I really hope we're going to have a proper long episode with more than just me, so that will be coming out soon. And we're hoping that we have a plan for the next few months. Even though the world's a little bit crazy just now, things will hopefully calm down in that we have a new plan for how things are going to go. We'll just see how that goes. I don't want to detail it just now because there are just a few things I need to iron out. But rest assured, you will be hearing Raschelle again at some point, and you won't have too many episodes like this where it's just me spending 15 minutes talking about the news and that's it. So don't worry, we'll be having more of that. thank you all for being very supportive. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I am the ScottBot, and Scott has one T there. If you want to follow the podcast on Twitter, that's at THSPod. That's THS as in the Harvest Season pod. You can email us from the website, harvestseason.club. And also on the website, you can find a link to our Patreon if you want to support us financially. We're just coming up to the beginning of a month. That is the best time to do it because you get the whole month for your buck. I think that's everything for now. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, have a good harvest.
The Harvest Season is created by Raschelle Delaney and Al McKinley. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, theharvestseason.club, for show notes, including links to things we discussed and transcripts for every episode. Thanks for listening.